Hello everyone, what's poppin', what's good? My name is Eniola Igbason of Impact with Eni, and you're welcome back to my channel. Today's video is for the girlies, the women of reproductive age. I'll be sharing with you some important health checks that you need to do as a woman. I'm a very big advocate of health and well-being, and I really hope that we've been listening to the things I say regarding our health. I hope this video helps you to become a better judge of your own health and also make better decisions regarding your health. Let's get right into the video. First, I'll check out advice that you do as a woman would be the pap smear test. I know you'll be wondering why pap smear again. You've talked about this before. I'm just very big on this kind of things because I know how important these tests have for our overall well-being. So pap smear test is a test you do as a woman in a reproductive age between the age 21 to 65. So anything from above 65 years old, pap smear may not necessarily be important, but from the age of 21 up to that age, it is important that you do this pap smear test. The frequency varies with age. Okay, so let's start with what pap smear is. Pap smear test is done in order to test for cervical cancer. Pap smear test also helps to detect HPV, which is called human papillomavirus. This virus can be sexually transmitted and it can increase the risk of developing cervical cancer. So basically, we're trying to prevent cervical cancer by doing pap smear test, or we're trying to detect it early. If there's a cervical cancer in place, detect it early so that possible treatment can be done as quickly as possible. So that's the reason why you do pap smear test. You can see how important that is. And as a woman from 21 years old to 30 years old, you can do pap smear once every 3 years. And if you're 30 years old up to 65 years old, you can do pap smear test once every 5 years. So you can check with your healthcare provider to know when you're due for your pap smear test. As long as you're 21 years old and up to 65 years old, you are eligible to do the test. You need to know that pap smear test cannot detect infections like gonorrhea or chlamydia, but it can help to detect some other bacterial or yeast infection. So pap smear test is different from a test to detect gonorrhea or chlamydia. The next important health check that you should do as a woman in a reproductive age or as a woman is sexually transmitted disease test. Yes, very important. As long as you're a woman that is sexually active, you need to do this test. Why are you doing this test? STDs are often symptomless. It might be in your body, developing, growing, doing all the crazy stuff it does. And unknowingly, you pass it to your partner because you don't know you've got STDs. Or if you're pregnant, pass it to your unborn child. You don't want to be that person. So you want to get those tests done as soon as possible. Another important test that you should do is mammogram. Listen, hear me out. So if you're a woman that is below 40 years of age, this is not your business. The reason why you're doing this test is to detect breast cancer, obviously, right? So if you're a woman that is below 40, you don't have any business with doing a mammogram. However, if you have a family history of cancer, breast cancer, and the likes, and you've noticed some abnormalities maybe during your breast self examination, or somehow you just unknowingly notice that and you've gone to your physician or your healthcare provider and they must advise you what needs to be done next. But if you don't present with any symptoms, you don't have any breast cancer symptoms or anything, as long as you're not 40 years old, mammogram is not your business. You need to get your first mammogram starting at the age of 40 years old if you don't have any history of cancer or breast cancer. Okay? And you continue to do that annually after the first mammogram. You want to be able to detect these things early so that they can treat them accordingly. So the next important health check is colonoscopy. Now, colonoscopy is just a test that helps to detect any problem with the colon. And colon is one of the digestive organ, right? So we want to be able to detect if there's a problem with the colon, and colorectal screening should begin at the age of 45 years old. Another important health check is cholesterol test, and this screening should begin at the age of 45 years for women that do not have any risk factor and 20 years for women that have risk factor. You'll be wondering, why am I doing cholesterol test? Cholesterol test is very important because they are tests that helps to detect your overall cardiovascular condition. They help to detect the risk of developing heart condition or heart diseases or even stroke in the future. So we want to prevent these things. That's why we're checking early so that treatment can be possible and treatments would be effective. So that's why we're doing this test. And lastly, pelvic examination is very, 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 very important. This helps to detect any abnormality, any STI, any problem that is ongoing with the reproductive organ, like your ovaries, the uterus, the cervix, the fallopian tubes, and everything inside the pelvis. So you want to be on top of your game to know what is going on with your body. You'll be able to detect cancer early, you'll be able to detect any abnormalities early, and treatments will be so prompt that you'll be so thankful and grateful that you did that check in the first place. So these are the things that I just think that I needed to share with us. They sound like they're not important. They sound like it's too much. They sound very dreadful, but it's good. It's good to be on top of your game. So the main purpose of this video is to educate us and create more awareness about these health checks that are very important to us as women. I hope this video is informative enough for my girlies, mummies, mamas, and every other female. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end of this video. Subscribe to my channel, like and share and comment, and I hope to see you in my next video. Till then, stay safe. Adios.